With Jackass Forever coming out this weekend, I spent the last week rewatching the first 3 films, including Bad Grandpa. I would watch the Jackass TV show, but that's like hours of television that I gotta watch. And I'm not here to focus on that. I'm just focusing on the movies. Plus, I'm not gonna review each movie because honestly, I feel like these movies you can't really review because given the premise of these movies, which are a bunch of crazy ass white boys doing a bunch of crazy stunts that no one in their right mind would ever do, I feel like your enjoyment of these films are subjective. But I still wanted to give my thoughts on each film, so I'm gonna do that by ranking all the Jackass films, including Bad Grandpa. Then once I see Jackass Forever, I'll give you my thoughts on that. Then I will tell you where it ranks with the other films. This is my ranking of the Jackass films and Bad Grandpa. Coming in last place is Jackass the movie. Now, just because this is at the bottom does not mean I think it's a bad film. It's just my least favorite, but it still has its funny moments. In fact, I remember one of my friends from back when I was a kid had this on DVD, and we used to watch it all the time, and we all thought the first stunt in which Johnny Knoxville rents a car, takes it to a crash derby, and brings it back destroyed, that was the least funniest stunt, which is why I think they put it first, because everything after that was just straight up hilarious. From the introduction of the Bad Grandpa, Knoxville and the gang dressing up like old people, to Bam Margera and Tony Hawk in fat suits performing skate stunts, all the shenanigans with Bam's parents. This was excellent. But again, it is at the bottom because I feel like compared to the first few films, they didn't go the distance with the stunts of how crude, cringy, and nasty they can be, which is why the first Jackass is at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is Bad Grandpa, which is not a traditional Jackass movie, but a movie where there is an actual story set up where Johnny Knoxville dresses up in the old man makeup and him and this kid perform stunts out in public. We get to see people's actual reaction as if it actually happened, which in retrospect is the precursor to the Eric Andre film Bad Trip that came out last year, and ironically, Eric Andre is in Jackass 4. Now, despite the fact that I prefer Bad Trip more, I remember liking this when it came out, and watching it for a second time 8 years later, it was still fun. Johnny Knoxville shines as this old man that can get away with things because he is old. The stunts were insane, from having the kid dress up in drag for a girl's pageant and do a whole dance routine with the pole, the penny right malfunctioning outside the store, and the whole funeral routine that had me guffawing. This was a funny little road trip film, and that's why Bad Grandpa falls in at number 3. Coming in at number 2 is Jackass 3D, which I think is one of the few movies where they utilize 3D in a creative way, because what better way to utilize 3D than with the Jackass crew performing stunts and 3D! Outside of that, it was fun watching the cast perform stunts that were fun to watch in 3D, but also can be a little cringy to the stunts that were just downright nasty and crude, particularly the stunts pertaining to shit. Them supergluing themselves, the Rocky punches, having fun with somebody farting on command, Chris Pontius dressing up like a gorilla to scare Bam Margera's parents to the point where Phil Margera actually got the shit scared out of him, the high five. There is a lot of fun to be had with this film, and that is why Jackass 3D is my number 2. Coming in at number 1 is Jackass number 2, because I feel like going from the first film to this film is where Johnny Knoxville in the cast woke up for this film and said,
"Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts."
And nuts they did, because what I like about these movies is that it's a nastier version of the show. They are doing stunts that could not be put on TV. The stunts are nastier, cruder, cringier, and just downright insane. From the Anaconda Ball Pit, they actually eat horse semen. Steve-O chugs beer with his butt. Steve-O puts a fish hook through his cheek to go fishing. And they pull a prank where one of them dresses up like a terrorist, in which, thank God, we were 5 years removed from 9/11 when this movie came out, because, whew, to me, Jackass number 2 was the boldest of the movies, and that is why Jackass number 2 is number 1. Concluding my Jackass marathon with Jackass Forever, which hit theaters over the weekend, and I saw it. It may not be my favorite in the series, but it was still a fun time at the theater, despite the absence of both Ryan Dunn, who passed away 10 years ago, and Bam Margera, who got fired from the movie. It was still a fun time seeing these guys 20 years later still doing this, despite how old they are, and they ain't even acknowledge how old they are, which is why they bring in some new cast members and it's even more inclusive. But as much as we talk about we want more inclusion in things, Jackass is one of the few things we are not asking for inclusion for, because no woman or person of color in their right mind would never do this. Still, it was fun watching a bunch of friends get together and have fun, even if their idea of fun results in the occasional trip to the hospital. The stunts, of course, are just as funny and crude as before. One of my favorite stunts involves a locked room with a snake and the lights off and a couple of surprises. Like the other films, I'm not going to rank them because you know what you're getting yourself into with these films, but here is my official ranking of all the movies, including Jackass Forever.